Doomsday 3.
We had Doomsday 1. He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix. Most of his friends leave, of course. For safety and
on the defense, talk about it. You better get your ass the ball. You better get your ball.
I just gotta say, when it comes to Dallas,
Different.
For sure, and they would have thrown it off because
This guy gets off you.
And then I go to bed every night like, G man, I promise you that we got a What is up, Cowboys Nation? Your boy Mike Tag here, my man Kelly K9. We are back. You know, before I get going, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share, all that kind of good stuff. Because I may get sidetracked. Now, I was on a cruise. I was feeling pretty damn good. Everything that you could ask for was going right. I wanted to share this before we get going. You always got to share good news, Kelly. First of all, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I got everything going back over here. I got the heat back, so I'm not out here in wearing a coat. Even though it's still cold in Nebraska, but I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real good.
Yeah, well, that is good. Well, I always take a picture with my phone, and I don't know if you could see it. Maybe it'll come in. Those are what we call stacks, Kelly. Those are stacks. I was feeling good. Had a nice time on the cruise. The stacks would have got a hell of a lot higher if the freaking who the hell did they play? The Buccaneers. Absolutely. You got to tell me that Washington has a horseshoe up their ass, and that of course the Packers look like the Packers, not the Packers that we saw in the playoffs, of course, but the Packers that we thought they'd be.
Man, it's funny because. You know what, man? I just got to start this off with just a small little rant. I'm about fucking sick and tired of the fact that don't nobody catch smoke like Dak Prescott. I mean, think about this right here, man. Justin Herbert threw 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 interceptions to 1 touchdown in his game. Justin Herbert. The same dude that I have all these people telling me is better than Dak. If we had an opportunity to get Herbert over Dak, they would take him over Dak. He's won 0 playoff games. He gave away a 27-point lead, 24-point lead, whatever it was in the playoffs already. Then he followed it up with a 4 interception to the Houston Texans. And I don't hear nobody saying that he's a choke artist, that he can't get it done. What the hell's going on with Justin Herbert? Then I look across the table and I look at Jordan Love. And everybody was talking about Jordan Love and the transcendent season he had last year and all that. Dude comes out and has 3 goddamn interceptions with 0 touchdowns. Say what you want about Dak Prescott. He ain't never went into a game and come up with a goddamn goose egg when it comes down to the touchdown. So I'm just like, I just wish that these dudes would start giving some of the rest of these guys around the league some of the same type of intensity that they give to our quarterback and Dak Prescott. That's all I want. Just play it fair across the board. If you're going to diss Dak, go ahead and diss the rest of the dudes that come up short and ain't doing shit in the playoffs either.
No, of course we're not going to do that. I mean, that doesn't sell, get the clicks, get the likes, get the ratings, get all this other stuff, and you're 1,000% right. I mean, Hal Herbert, he just goes unscathed. He'll get his contract, and they get all their money, and Trevor Lawrence and all these guys, but it still comes down to Dak Prescott. Now, our show, we're going to be taking some calls. I really hope you guys call in. Don't be afraid. Just pick up the damn phone when I give the number. This is how it works. I'm going to give the number. Someone call in. Once I get someone, I'll take the number off. Don't call when someone's talking because this is old school. All I have is my cell phone. So when someone calls my cell phone, I'm going to pick it up. Yeah, this is it. But we want to hear from you. But I want to talk first to set the stage because I was on a cruise. And I had a good time to the last day. And typically, like anything, I'm wearing my cowboy gear. You know what I'm saying, Kelly? I'll take the heat. I don't give a shit. I know they were showing the Philly game. I know they're showing the Washington game, but I back down from nobody when it comes to that. So I'm minding my business, playing some 3-card poker. And I got my Cowboys hat on and my Cowboys shirt. And lady looks over and she goes, yeah, I don't like you. And I said, well, I don't know what to tell you. She goes, I hate your fucking team, and I'm an Eagles fan, and the Cowboys suck. Well, I said, we suck, but I sure know one thing: you swallow. And and then she started getting on me. So I'm like, you know what? Here we go. I said, all I got to say is just hold on to that one. Hold on to that one so bad. And she's like, I said, I was able to see 3. Now, I'm a respectful man. I wasn't going to do what the Eagle guy did because my girls said that I was just a little kid when we won. Like, she was just a little kid when we won our 3, but my lady was much older than me. So, but I wasn't going to disrespect her because if she wasn't much older than me, she's been beat down a little bit. I don't know what the hell she's doing with her life, but she needs to fix it. But that's the kind of stuff that we got to deal with. But I'm enjoying myself, thinking everything's good. And this week we hear the coach is gone. Now, you know my feelings on McCarthy. You guys, I've been very transparent. I think it's a mistake to let him go for a couple reasons. Who we're going to get. And 2, I like continuity. I mean, the guy's won 12 games, 3 years. The 2 years he hasn't, he's been without his quarterback. And miraculously, the backups were like almost 500. And I don't know how the hell that happened. I mean, you go back, some idiot on 105.3 I talked about actually had the nerve to compare Mike McCarthy's resume to Jason Garrett, which is absolutely freaking laughable. When Jason Garrett left tackle, we were 0-7. We couldn't win shit without him. Or when Romo was down, we never would win. So that goes beside the point. So if you're going to get someone, fine. If you want to go get Belichick, you want to get some big name, some young guy, I'm all for it. But Kelly, you and I both know what the fuck's about to happen. And I don't like it. And then when I hear Deion, correct me if I'm wrong, because if I'm missing, I love me some Prime, but let's just call it what it is. What has he done? What has he done to deserve the hype? Now, one thing he's good at is promoting and getting ratings and eyeballs. Now, the Cowboys got that figured out. We already know
how to do that.
So you got to bring him. The circus is coming to town. Full blown.
Know how to do that.
So, I mean, what's your thoughts, Kelly, before we get going? I'm not ready to turn these goddamn tickets in and tell them all to kiss my ass.
Okay, so here's what we got to do now. There's been several times throughout this season that you've had to talk me off the ledge and try to get me re-engaged and so now it's my turn to be the Dr. Phil to your patient that's looking for answers, right? So look, I'm going to say this. The Deion Sanders thing, in my opinion, is nothing more than a smokescreen. Absolutely nothing more than a smokescreen. And that is not an indictment on Deion Sanders. That is not an indictment on him at all. What I think he may be, what I think he could be, what I think his potential is. Because I know a lot of people say, you know what, you're just hating on Deion Sanders. Look, I think Jerry Jones just wants to be in the news. I think there's absolutely zero truth to that at all. They said Jerry Jones right now is on a solo mission. And he's doing these things solo. Now, I saw a report today from Josina Anderson that said Jerry Jones has made several telephone calls to different people, but they said none of this has been released to the media. So they haven't released who they've talked to. They did release who they haven't talked to, and the people that they haven't talked to are names. Now, they did discuss this thing with Prime, but again, it was the first round of the playoffs, and guess what they were doing on Monday night at halftime? They were talking about the Cowboys. Jerry Jones has a heart on right now. This is what he loves. This is what he loves to do, and he's hyping everybody up, and he's riling everybody up. And check this out. They said, so Josina said that he's been working, that there's several names that they have reached out to, that the Dallas Cowboys have shown interest in, that they have not released those names to the media. But Jane Slater said that the names that they did not call, they have not called Gruden. I'm fine with that. They have not called Kellen Moore. Thank you, Jesus. They have not called Jason Witten and talked to Jason Witten about it. His name has been getting bantered around. It sounds like that is just they haven't talked about him. They did say they talked about bringing Jason Garrett in, but while McCarthy was still there. So it sounds like that Jerry Jones in some way, shape, or form wants to bring Jason Garrett in and get him into the coaching staff. I don't know how that works, but I hope they don't do it because I think that's a bad look to try to push another coach onto a head coach, especially a guy like Jason Witten, who has only coached, 2 years in high school.
Oh, you're talking about Witten. You said Witten.
Jason
Witten. Garrett. You said
no,
Garrett.
Jason Witten. I'm talking about Jason Witten, so not Garrett. So, look, I think that what they need to do right now is I think what we got to do is we got to take a step back, take a collective breath, and just hold on right now because the only real name that has been said that they're bringing in for an interview, the only interview right now is Robert Saleh. Yeah. And I don't know how you feel about this, but look, I look at him. There's a lot of people saying he's just a Rooney Rule guy, nothing more. I think that I don't think that. I think that it's probably a legitimate interview. Now, is he going to get the job? I don't know because Jerry still, I think, has several people that I think he's got his eyeballs on. But look, I like Saleh. I think he brings a physicality. I think that he got a raw deal when he was with the Jets. I told people, they were like, you know what? It wasn't good with the Jets. He didn't have a winning season with the Jets. He coached the Jets three years, and on his 4th year, 5 games in, he got fired. His Zach Wilson was his quarterback. And when you look at the New York Jets, they've had 5 winning seasons in 20 years. I'm not going to judge anybody too harshly based on that shit show because the New York Jets have proven they're a shit show. But while he was coaching the New York Jets, that defense was one of the tops in the league. That defense was legit. And I know for a fact, Robert Saleh comes in, he instantly elevates and brings the energy and the passion to that defense. And that defensive unit, all he needs is a couple of coordinators to go along with him. Now, again, I'm not campaigning and saying that's the guy that I want unequivocally. I'm saying I think he's a good choice. I think he's a good interview, and I think it's a good start to the interview process. As far as Deion, if I was a Cowboys fan right now, I would put that so far out of the back of my mind because I do not think that's a realistic possibility. Just today, they were saying that Deion brought in a coach, elevated the coaches on the roster. Deion's making moves in Colorado right now. He ain't worried about it. He's loving the attention just as much as Jerry loves the attention. At the end of the day, Jerry Jones' ego and Deion Sanders' ego could not fit together in AT&T Stadium. Their egos are too goddamn big. They need a bigger stadium. They just can't. They wouldn't work together. It's not going to work. It's fun to talk about for the media. It's fun for Jerry to be in the media and to be getting talked about. Look, we're going into the second round of the playoffs this weekend. And guess what they're going to keep talking about all the rest of this week? The Dallas Cowboys, a 7-win team. Jerry's got us in the goddamn news just like he wants to. So
this is what I think. I know. This is the part that infuriates me because I just want to be a football team. I want to be like the Chiefs. I want to be that quiet team. And I know it's not going to happen with the Cowboys. But, at some point, it's read the room. Know when to shut the fuck up, for lack of a better word that I can't think of another word to say to Jerry. And it's listening to him talk. It's just, my man's losing his mind. I mean, it really is.
He is. And kind of what scares me is the fact that they said he's going on a solo mission, that he's doing this solo. Like, do we really want Jerry to do this coaching search solo? Like, you don't want anybody else within the organization have any say in this? This is Jerry's say? Like, that's like throwing the keys to your grandpa when he's 80 years old and he's had a couple of shots of tequila and drank a couple of bourbons and scotch, and you throw him the keys to the car and tell him to go make a beer run. I don't think that's the greatest of ideas.
No. I mean, they got to. I'm gonna I reserve judgment on till they hire someone, right? And then I'll say how I really feel about any of it. But like the McCarthy thing just kind of rubs me the wrong way because it comes down to the contract, the length of the contract, which I'm gonna guess McCarthy wanted 5 years, which is pretty standard for a coach, and Jerry was gonna try and lowball it to like a 3. That's my guess. I'm not an insider. I'm not, but that's what I'm guessing. And the part is, you've heard Micah Parsons come out. You've heard Dak Prescott come out. You've heard the core of your team come out. And the thing I would say about McCarthy is the team played for him. The team always played hard for him. He is good. He is falling on the sword, and Jerry did exactly what he wanted to do. He set McCarthy up because now all the fans, if you really think about it, all the fans are against McCarthy. Oh, and listen to the media. Oh, McCarthy, he couldn't win that. Look what they did this season. Well, what did they give him? I mean, they lost all those players and replaced them with nothing. You had no running game. You had nothing. And then you lose your quarterback. You lose all the other stuff. But they set him up for failure and to be the fall guy. This worked out exactly like Jerry did, because now everyone's happy McCarthy's gone. But the problem is still there, and it's Jerry. The problem that came to this season, and Kelly, right? Am I wrong? You and I talked about it. What did they do? They couldn't get Henry, right? They want to pay $5-8 million for a running back. Get no running back, do nothing. So they leave this coach with shit, where one injury was going to destroy him, which they got a plethora of it. And he is now the focal point of, yeah, he's the problem. Well, dude, he wasn't the problem, man. I'm going to say it. And I pray that he gets the job with Chicago, or he'll get the job with New Orleans. And I pray that he does a phenomenal job. And just to stick it back in Jerry's face, I would love it. That's just my opinion of it.
Well,
and I could be way off.
So here's what I think. I'm fine with the McCarthy firing. I thought they should have fired him after Green Bay last year, because look, I don't understand the defense did not do their job. I thought that whole team was ill prepared though. And at the end of the season, when Mike McCarthy said the team just said they weren't prepared, that's a fireable offense to me. If I am a manager and I'm running something, and in the biggest moment, my guy that works underneath me, my right-hand man, my guy tells me that they failed horribly because they were ill-prepared, I'm going to fire your ass. You're done. Like, you were ill-prepared in the biggest moment? Are you kidding me? Like,
I'm going to blame that on players. I mean, to me, you played sports and your son's wrestling now, so it's really one-on-one, right? You go tell your son, if the day comes he gets his ass whooped on the mat, who he blames. Go blame the coach, or you gonna blame him, for being prepared or not prepared. These are professionals now. These guys got to be prepared. No. You're seeing a pattern. You're seeing the pattern, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but there's a pattern of players that just don't seem to play big in the big games.
And I get it, I do, and I understand that, and I understand you do have to put an onus on the players. But when did a Bill Belichick coach team show up that looked unprepared? When did a Jimmy Johnson team show up that looked unprepared? How about an Andy Reid team show up looking unprepared? The best.
I guess that Andy Reid Eagles teams did. They lost 3 games at home in the playoffs.
I think that was just because they had some.
So, but you're naming Troy Aikman, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes. That's what I'm saying is that's leadership.
Exactly.
That's leadership of quarterbacks.
No, they do. But think about it. I'm just saying, like, in general, let's even go one less. Let's say Mike Tomlin hadn't won a playoff game in like 8 years, 9 years, but he's never had a losing season. And even when they lose, you can't say his team didn't show up and look prepared. They don't get embarrassed. They don't get ran off the field like we did against Green Bay. That was an embarrassment top to bottom. And to me, I've always looked at that as that goes back on Mike McCarthy. If your team fails in every aspect of the game and all 53 players look like absolute dog shit, I'm looking at the head coach saying, what the fuck were you doing during the week to prepare? Like, yeah, I understand these players got to go out and get there, but it's your job to be the motivator and to get these dudes ready. Just kind of like you said with the sports. Like, okay, so my son, when he's getting ready to go on a wrestling meet, he just got called up. He's going to go to a varsity meet on Friday, right? I send him an inspirational message this morning where I'm pumping him up and telling him, listen, you may not be the most experienced, but guess what? Experience doesn't always win. The best team don't always win. The best individual don't always win. It's the one that's the best prepared. It's the one that's willing to go out and leave it all out there. So, like, and that's just me doing a little part now. How much that'll help when he's out on the mat, who knows? But I'm saying I'm trying to do my part to get him prepared, saying, hey, watch your matches back. Watch your losses even more than you watch your wins, because you want to learn from those, right? And it's those things that I just don't know if McCarthy was the ultimate motivator or that we need. And maybe part of it's the culture, maybe part of it's that. I don't know, but I feel like what left a bad taste in my mouth was how they handled the McCarthy deal. I don't think that they wanted McCarthy from the jump. I think they wanted to probably get rid of him at the end of last year, but wanted to let him just for whatever fucking reason decided let's ride out this season, because they set him up to fail in so many ways that I guarantee you, when they started winning and they ended up winning 7 games, Jerry's probably sitting there thinking, damn, man, now it's going to make this situation difficult. So he thought, you know what? I know McCarthy wants a long deal. He wants security. Let me offer him the 3-year deal. I know he'll turn it down. Then it'll look like I'm not the bad guy. I think that the way that they handled it, they mishandled it, and it's just, I think it was bullshit. I think it was a bad move by the Cowboys, and just another example of how dysfunctional that this team is and continues to be because of the actions of our GM Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and I would say this: it was a Big C show. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. The funny thing is, you talk about the penalties, and I've said this a million times. Go look at McCarthy when he was with the Packers and their penalties. Go look at Garrett when he was with the Cowboys and their penalties. The penalties, to me, it's a culture problem with this team. It is. And I've got examples, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I can give you examples of players that showed up late for meetings over and over and over, and the coaches couldn't do shit about it because the owner was buddies with them. And that's just, there's a culture problem with this team. And that culture problem, I think it trickles down to that, exactly what you're talking about with the penalties. It's accountability. You know, there was a time where you fumble the ball and Jimmy Johnson cut the guy. Now, he's not going to cut Emmitt Smith for fumbling the ball, but he's going to cut Kervin Richards for fumbling the ball. And that's the problem with this team. There's no accountability. And to me, it always starts at the top. It starts at the top because that is driven top down in any business, and sports is a business, and that's what it is. When you could go above your boss and go to the big dog and have your conversation and go sit in his club and go sit in a suite and go watch the fight and go watch doing this, you just basically kill it all. You cut the legs from under the coach. There's no fear factor. That's the thing. If you, like Kelly, you talk Jimmy Johnson, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid. Who did Andy Reid get rid of? They got rid of Tyreek Hill. They get rid of the other dude. There's a level of fear. There's fear in those players. They know they don't give a shit. They're going to cut somebody, and there's accountability. With the Cowboys, who have they gotten rid of? They get rid of Zeke in week, 17, 16, they cut him. He wasn't being used. He wasn't. If you could have sent a message, you could have sent. I'm not saying he deserved it or not. That's for someone else's opinion, but you could have cut him a long time ago to send some sort of message.
Yeah, the Cowboys really haven't cut anybody, and I can't remember a time when the Cowboys cut anybody, to be honest with you. I don't really know anybody that they cut. I know guys that they've chosen not to sign, but it goes back to like what you said. Kind of look at the Patriots when Bill Belichick was cutting dudes that were like, former Pro Bowl players that still had life left in them. But what it was that, they were very expensive, and wanted a lot of money, and maybe their play had fallen off a little bit, not a lot, but he's like, you know what, I'm going to get rid of you. He did it time and time again. You can look at countless Patriots where they'd get cut, and you're like, damn, the Patriots cut that dude, and they'd get snagged up on another roster in a heartbeat because they still had talent. But Bill Belichick was like, you know what, I'm doing things my way. If this dude is, and I just feel like, they had that thing, the Patriot way.
Yeah.
That was culture. That was a culture right there. When you came to play for Bill Belichick, you knew that things were going to go his way or you weren't going to be a part of that team anymore. And we need something like that. But the problem is, and the problem is, you talked about it, and I've talked about it. The problem is Jerry will not let it. He lets it to an extent, which is why I think that we can't get over the hump, is because he lets coaches do that. He lets coaches be and try to develop culture to an extent. But Jerry still forces his own guys upon people. He forces his. Do you really think Mike McCarthy wanted Ezekiel Elliott back? Because I don't think so. I think that was all Jerry Jones. And nothing bad about Zeke. Nothing negative to say about the guy. He did a lot for this franchise, and thank you for all you did. But I don't think that Mike McCarthy wanted Zeke back. I really don't. And I think that was a Jerry move. Jerry continues to push people on. And, this whole bullshit they're talking about Jason Witten and bringing him in as some kind of a coach, that's more of the same shit. Jerry talking about bringing Jason, but you don't even know who your fucking head coach is right now, and you're talking about bringing in Jason Witten as an assistant. How do you even know your head coach that you're going to hire isn't going to even want Jason Witten? Who has zero NFL experience in terms of a coach, zero college experience. He's won 2 state titles. Congratulations for that. High school football ain't college football. College football ain't NFL football. Jerry just just spiraling out of control, man. And it just keeps making these Cowboys fans and myself and you, it makes you frustrated because, like you said, it's a clown show, it's a circus, and it's not how a professional organization is run. And we can all see it. Every one of us see it.
No, I mean, and it's frustrating. And DJ, I didn't hear any stories about Mike's relationship with players being negative. I haven't heard one negative thing from a player. I would love to hear McCarthy really give his opinion. He's not going to do it, but
No,
I would love to
road.
hear his opinion. Say it again.
I said, Mike McCarthy, he'll take the high road.
Yeah, I wish he wouldn't sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was pushing for King Henry, but he gave Zeke and said, I think the whole Zeke move was just to appease the fan base. I think, but I think and I don't know if the fan base really wanted that. I mean, when Zeke had left, he left, and I don't know. I mean, all I know is this Cowboys team. They've got a core group of guys. Now, when you're going to bring in, you're going to bring in a new. If they bring in an offensive guy, let's just say defense, not so much, but an offensive guy. Typically, these guys they align themselves to their own quarterback. So I ask you this: is how do you have Dak and you've got these guys, you got this offense, and we're invested. I mean, there's no turning back, right? Unless they make a drastic move like the Broncos did, and it seemed to work out for them. So I'm not saying he can't, but do you think this could affect Dak's future in Dallas?
I mean, I don't know. Time will tell on that. I don't know, man. There's a lot of things, in my opinion, that still have to play out in this whole scenario before you can really see how the dominoes are going to continue to fall going forward.
If you got, let me just say one thing to my man DJ. I like Bobby Belt, but I listened to him. He don't like McCarthy, and he lost all credibility with me when he compared Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy. So I lost all.
Well, and the other thing that I'll say about that, because Bobby Belt was saying some things about those stories. One of the things that he said right off the bat that I'm going to call bullshit on.
I think we got one caller in. Let me see if he.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, man? What's up? Can you hear him, Kelly? You can't. I think Kelly's having trouble hearing you. And the people on the show, can you hear him?
Chat, can y'all hear the phone call?
We just got it working before, Kelly. What the hell happened? Hold on, hang on tight, because I can hear you. Someone in the chat, tell me if you can hear our caller, yes or no. Nope, they can't hear you either. Let me try and fix them. I'll put the number back up and call back because I want Kelly to be able to hear you. I'll call you right back, brother. All right, brother. I'll call you right back. All right, bye. I'll just call him back when we get it. So you couldn't hear him.
I couldn't hear him. Chat said no as well.
It was working. Didn't I call you and you could hear me?
I could hear you.
All right, let me try one thing. This is going to be dangerous, Kelly. I may get in trouble. Can you hear that? Can you hear the phone ringing? Can you hear him now, Kelly? Oh, man. Well, real quick, what's your thoughts? Real quick, give me your comment.
I want to address that thing with Bobby Belt. I was just going to say.
Wait one second.
I think Jerry should have.
Can you hear him?
I think Jerry. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead. Kelly can hear you now.
Okay. So first thoughts is Jerry should just fire himself as GM and owner, though. And really,
that ain't happening.
Yeah, as long as he's alive, no. But I tell you, he does not care about winning another championship. He just wants to put the brand on him. He just wants to make the Dallas Cowboys the richest franchise in all sports. And it's just sad. It's just a sad look on us, though. We haven't seen a championship in 29 years. And
now, how long? Now, what's your name? I'm sorry, I didn't get your name through all this.
This is Booker.
Booker, what's up? Yeah, I see you in the
Booker,
chat.
what's happening, brother?
So let me ask you this: what is Kelly said? What's up? You've been a fan a long time. How long you been a fan?
Oh, pretty much almost all my life, pretty much.
Yeah. So I mean, at what point are you ever going to get to a point to say, man, I can't deal with this shit no more? Or are you pretty much too late?
It's pretty much too late. I guess I signed up for this. I guess I signed up for this, bro.
I did too. Kelly did. I think we all did. But yeah. So no, who would you want to be the next coach in your opinion?
I really think they should go after Ben Johnson. Why not?
Ben Johnson, I like that.
He's the hottest name on the coaching search. So,
but do you think? I mean, do you guys really think that Jerry's going to do something? Now, I'd be okay with. That would get me hyped. A young guy, I'm good with. But my fear is we're going to get Kellen Moore, we're going to get Ron Rivera, we're going to get Deion Sanders, we're going to get something that just isn't going to be sexy for us.
I wouldn't mind having Rivera as our coach.
Oh my God, Kelly, help this guy out, please.
No to Rivera. Listen, if we're gonna go defensive minded, let's go. Robert Saleh, Aaron Glenn.
Hold on one sec. Well, Kelly said go Aaron Glenn or Saleh. Kelly can hear you, but you can't hear him. But I'm gonna fix the phones. But I just wanted to give you a call back because I appreciate you calling in and breaking the ice. I'm gonna get this thing figured out and we'll get it going. All right. All right. Appreciate it, brother. Take care, man. Bro. All right. Thanks, bro. All right. Yeah, I don't know why it's not working for you, Kelly. This breaks my heart.
I don't know. I don't know. We had it going before we started the show. We had it going.
I know. We're gonna get it. We'll get it figured out. What I'm gonna do, Kelly, you run it for a minute. Let me go do some backside stuff here. Not backside, background stuff, and we'll get it right. Hold on.
All right, man. Well, I'm just gonna say, man, in terms of who I would. As far as who I get, I would definitely say that I like Aaron Glenn. Man, I don't know if you guys heard him talk, but, I heard an interview with him when he was talking about head coach, what he brings to the table as a head coach. And what he said was, when you get a guy like me, people think that because I'm a defensive coach that you're getting a defensive-minded coach. He said, listen, what you're getting with me is a coach. He said, I know both sides of the ball. I'm going to talk with my offense and be involved with my offense as I am going to be in my defense. I'm going to be a coach. I love what Aaron Glenn said. I love what he stands for. I love the passion. I love the intensity. I like him as a head coach. He's one of the ones that's at the top of the list. I posted the other day my top 3, and Aaron Glenn, actually my top 3 who I had Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, and then I said if we were going to run to the college ranks, but Aaron Glenn's number 3. But then I said if we're going to run to the college ranks, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame, I really like him. I mean, how could you not listen to that guy talk and not think that guy has got a bright future? When you hear him talk, what I hear a future leader of men. And you know what? Actually, he's already a leader of men. These are young men, but look at him, man. He's got Notre Dame playing on one of the biggest stages, and I think it's because of the belief that he has in his players. And that's one of the main key aspects. Having belief in your players and have your players willing to play for you. Having guys that are going to go to war with you. Having guys that are going to, run through a brick wall for you. That, you always hear about that from some of the greatest coaches. They talk about, I'd do anything for, Jimmy Johnson, for Coach Johnson, and that's what it is it's the ability to be able to inspire people. And I think that those names are guys that can inspire people. So those are the guys that I named. Obviously, I don't think that Jerry's going to go into the college ranks, but man, I was just talking about Marcus Freeman, head coach of Notre Dame. You listen to that guy, and I tell you, he's got a bright future. I don't know where he'll end up. He's got a bright future. He is a leader of men. For sure.
See, and I agree with you. I was actually just talking about him at dinner, and I'm a guy. I hate Notre Dame and I hate Ohio State. So this bowl game is really it's pulling me both ways. But if I were to pick one, I'd pick Notre Dame simply because of the coach. I mean, that's a guy. If they get a guy like that, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, and all is forgiven. But do you have any faith that Jerry Jones is gonna make one of those moves? And again, I'm not afraid of making mistakes, and I'm not afraid if it ends up being the wrong guy, but I would rather go down with someone like that than getting me some retread that it's going to be the same old story that's no upgrade to what we had. And I'd just much rather just leave well enough alone if that's the case. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And, and the thing about it is that for all those people that are saying that, that Glenn or, Ben Johnson, that those are pipe dreams and that those are not, okay, they may be that, it may end up being that, but I mean, I'm going to wait until I've actually heard from them, because I haven't heard Ben Johnson say he wouldn't take the Cowboys job. I haven't heard Aaron Glenn say he's not interested in the Cowboys job. And, it's funny because I don't know if you heard the comments from Troy Aikman.
I was going to bring that up and ask you that.
Yeah, he talked about how this is not a destination job. He said it's just not. He said because, you've got to work with a kind of a difficult owner, which is kind of funny, but, he's kind of taking a little pot shot at Jerry Jones there. And maybe Jerry, you know what, though? I think that Troy Aikman did that intentionally. I think he did it to because he knows that gets back to Jerry. He knows Jerry going to hear that. So I think maybe he did that as an intentional kind of little jab to Jerry to say, hey, if you want things to succeed and you want to get the best coach in here, because this may be your last coaching hire in your lifetime. Jerry, you're over there knocking on heaven's door. We got the Grim Reaper stalking your ass. Maybe you need to step back and maybe you need to take a look at things and see that the way that you've been doing it ain't the way that has been working. So maybe if you want to get a coach to come in here, you might have to relinquish a little bit of that control and let a guy come in and run things the way he sees to build that culture to get you over the hump that has just seemingly been stopping this Cowboys franchise for 30 years.
Yeah. Hey, let me try one test. Tell me if you can hear this, Kelly. You hear music? No, I don't know what happened. It's just not, I don't know why it's not working. I'm really bummed about it. This is the second time with you it's happened. Let me try one thing.
You think it's me?
It might be. I don't know. Because do you hear that phone ringing?
Huh?
You hear a voice on there, Kelly? No. All right. Let me call you back. I was testing. Yeah, you. Okay. I was testing. All right. We're going to have no phone, man. I apologize. I wish there was a way I could do it. But anyway, we're going to make it work anyway. I don't understand why. It's only been with you. So we're going to have to figure out. There's got to be some blocker. It's a Kelly block. They're worried about cuss words. So I apologize. We'll get it right. But talking and I'd love to get the opinion in the chat as well. You hear Troy Aikman saying this. Now this is I mean, he's Mount Rushmore of Dallas Cowboys. I mean, everything you say, you're going to listen. And I will do that in the same breath as, though I don't agree, I listened to Michael Irvin, and Michael Irvin said he had to go, Coach McCarthy. So I heard the other side. Aikman said no. Irvin said yes. So, I mean, I try and respect both sides. But for Aikman to say the Cowboys is not the most coveted job is a big slap in the face to Jerry in this organization, because I mean, it's the New York Yankees, right? The New York Yankees' most coveted job in baseball is, New York Yankees. I mean, their most popular team, the most, team that everyone looked, LA Lakers. You have those teams, and Dallas Cowboys, they're falling. I mean, you've seen the run of Brady and the Patriots. Now you're getting ready you're in the middle of a run with the Chiefs and Mahomes. You continue to get these runs, and the Cowboys are just falling lower and lower down the pecking order. And if Jerry's all about legacy and he wants one last run, then what the hell are you doing, dude? There's no salary cap on a coach. You can pay whatever you want. So
I'll say this now when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, though, if you are a head coach, though, right? And I think that all coaches by nature, you cannot be a head coach unless you're competitive, right? I think all head coaches have a drive in them, a fuel and a fire that burns, that they want to be the best. They want to cement their legacy in the books, in the history books, in the Hall of Fame, whatever it may be. Nobody does it to be mediocre. Everybody does it with this one goal, and that's to be the best. And that's to be talked about where 20 years from now, like us, we're still talking about guys like Jimmy Johnson, right? We're still talking about him back from the 90s. So I think that if you're a head coach that wants to put your stamp on a league, I think there's a lot of guys that would have to look at this Dallas Cowboys coaching job as a challenge. I mean, because it's one of the most storied, no matter how you look at it, hate or love the Cowboys, it's one of the most storied franchises in the NFL. There's about 5 of them out there, and the Dallas Cowboys are absolutely one of them. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers. Like, these are storied franchises, right? And to take a franchise like the Dallas Cowboys that have been down for so long and to be the guy that restores them to glory, whoever that head coach may be, whoever that guy is that brings number 6 to Dallas, he may only have to win just one. He may only have to just win that 6th one. That dude's going to be, he's going to go down in history. He'll go down in history with the Dallas Cowboys and in the NFL, because he'll be the guy that got that Dallas Cowboys team over the hump. And so if you're a head coach, I think the competitiveness in you may ignore the bullshit that Jerry and that competitive nature and that want to compete may overcome the fact that Jerry is a guy that you know you got to deal with. You may think to yourself, I can overcome Jerry. I can overcome Jerry. And it's going to take a special guy to do that. But I'm praying and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that man is out there and that we hired that motherfucker as our head coach.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been twice, right? You look at Jimmy Johnson, the first hire. I mean, strong personality. Bill Parcells. You know, neither one ended well. You know, neither one lasted, you know, as long as we all probably hoped. I still believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that Bill Parcells would have won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys. I have no doubt in my mind. The roster was getting there, and Wade Phillips, you know, like you and I said before, I mean, if Bill Parcells here, Romo and Witten aren't going to Cabo. I mean, that shit wouldn't happen. And that's the problem is the Cowboys, you're 1000% right in what you're saying. The Cowboys need a strong-minded coach. And that's the only little sliver that I could give Deion is Deion would take the shine away from Jerry. No one would give 2 shits with Jerry saying. It'd be about Deion. And that would wear thin with Jerry because it did with any other coach. That Jerry wants to be he's the ringmaster. He wants to be in control. The thing that only worries me about Deion is you better have a damn good offensive coordinator and a damn good defensive coordinator, because he's not that guy. He is the motivator. He is the rah-rah. He's the guy that you wanted, right? The guy that, you know, that part of it. He's going to give you that. He's going to get you prepared mentally. He's going to get you prepared.
And accountability, too, because I think he'll definitely get on your ass if you ain't doing your job. He's not going to let that shit slide.
He will, as long as Jerry, again, the accountability has to come with Jerry, which obviously Deion, if Jerry didn't give Deion that power, then Deion would end up leaving. It would end badly. And I think that's kind of what, you know, the question would be. And I think, it comes down to the type of coordinator that you could get. Right there is what I am dreading, but I have a bad feeling my man Bugsy might be right.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't believe it, because I don't think that they really left on the greatest of terms, and I just don't see it. You look at what Philadelphia's offense looks like this year, and Eagles fans want Kellen Moore gone already. I mean, that playoff game was the most boring playoff game I ever seen in my life. Well, I mean, and Jalen Hurts literally had a pocket big enough to fit 20 Lizzos inside of that pocket and had all goddamn day to throw. He could have sat back there, sent a text, wrote a letter, you know, taking a shit and still throwing the ball, had time to throw the ball, and had 131 yards passing in there. And, I mean, look, I look back on the season. Jalen Hurts has, I think it's 4 games or maybe 5, where he has under 180 yards passing, and they won every single one of those games. He had one game where he passed for 113 yards. I'm sorry. I mean, and they've got Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and A.J. Brown. I'm sorry, that is inexcusable. Look, Philly fans are ready to get rid of Kellen Moore. I haven't seen anything that Kellen Moore has done with Philadelphia that would make anyone within the Cowboys organization, including Jerry, think that Kellen Moore is a good idea as a head coach. So I just don't see that happening. I know that's a lot of people's fears, but what I think that's a lot of PTSD. He flopped with the Chargers, and in his first year with the Eagles fans are already trying to run his ass out and get him out. trying to get him out. They want him out. He's not a good coordinator. So what makes anybody think he's going to be a good head coach? Because he's a bad coordinator, now you want to give him a head coach position? I just don't see it happening. I really don't.
Yeah. No. I mean, I hope you're right, but my fear is that's my fears is him, the other guys that we, we talked about, like the Riveras and I need someone that's going to put some juice and like someone put a Dan Campbell type, you know what I mean? At someone that's got some fire, not Rex Ryan. Now, we'll pump the brakes on that. I mean, would you be totally against John Gruden? Would that just be the end of it for you? Because honestly, I like John Gruden because he brings that fire, he's a good offensive mind. But again, you're going into that. He's a retread. So then I'm going against what I'm saying. But would a Gruden kill you?
I mean, look, I'm not going to jump off a cliff if we get him. But the reason I say no is because, I mean, he was out of the game for a while, and then he came back to LA, and he was pretty blah in LA. I mean, he had what do you have? 3 years in LA, and I think his best season was 8 wins. I mean, he had a losing season his first 2 years, and then his last year he had an 8-win season. He had 3 years. And not only that, I mean, he obviously comes with some distractions because the baggage that he had and the reason why he was not a head coach and why he's not in the league anymore, that didn't just go away. I get it. It may have been long enough where people have started to kind of say, you know what, he gets a second chance because this is the land of second chances, third chances, fourth chances, fifth chances. I mean, Jesus, they'll give you as many chances as you want. But it also brings a little bit of baggage and some distraction. I don't know how some of these players may feel about it. You'd have to sell Gruden.
Well, and I would say 50,000 emails, they found 2. Which was that's what they uncovered. Well, I'm just saying it. And Sapp came out, Brooks has come out. You've had a lot of players that have come out in his defense saying it's bullshit, and no one knows if it. No one even knows if those emails are legit. I mean, I don't know. I'd find it hard pressed that John Gruden could be in the league that long if he really in his heart was feeling that way. I don't know. I mean, it'd be really obviously disappointing. The one thing I would have you think about is. Look at like when he was in Oakland and, he took over that Raiders team and it was Rich Gannon, veteran quarterback. And I mean, they were really a bullshit call with the tuck rule from, you don't know if that Raider run was going to be the New England run was going to be the Raider run. You know what I'm saying? Like the Raiders had that game won right then and there. New England doesn't go to the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, New England was still a good team. You don't know what will happen, but he turned Gannon, and I'm not comparing Dak to Gannon by any stretch, but he was able to kind of get some juice and get him at an MVP level. He's very good offensively. I mean, the key is would be the staff and obviously personnel decisions and things like that. But I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate Gruden. I mean, I'm not going to run through a wall, but I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on him. And it seems like it's kind of been that way in the chat as well. I don't know what the rest of you guys think, but it's kind of been about 70-30 in favor of him. Like, wouldn't be mad if he was a coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for me, he's one of the guys that I had on my list that I was just kind of like, I'm just kind of out on it just because I just didn't really see anything in while he had his stint with the Raiders that really was like, damn, Gruden's the guy, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, look, I know when he came in with Oakland, they gave him that lifetime contract, and, they were like, it's going to take a while to build this team up, but and they were playing a little bit more competitive towards the end. But, I mean, look, in this day and age, I think the turnaround for a lot of these teams is a lot quicker than what it used to be. I feel like that now there's a lot of these players that come in, they're pro ready. Look at Dan Quinn, what he did with the goddamn Commanders. 4 wins last year, 12 wins this year, and into the second round of the playoffs. I mean, you can have a head coach that can come in, and if you've got good draft, if you start out with a good draft pick, and he can add some good talent to that team, and then you can be aggressive in free agency, you can flip a team in a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I look for is who's a guy that can come in as a head coach and have instant impact with this team. Because look, this team is not like what a lot of teams that are searching for a head coach are. This team is coming off 3 12-win seasons, coming off a 7-win season this year, where if we don't have the injuries this year, I think this is a 10-win team. Now,
Yeah, they're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs.
And we got a lot of guys that are restricted free or unrestricted free agents. We got a lot of guys we're going to have to try to sign back and different things like that. But look, this team's going to have some money to spend. They've got good draft capital. And, that's the thing was, what are we going to spend money? But we've got good draft capital. The Dallas Cowboys are in a good position for a coach to come in and win immediately take this team to the playoffs in year one. So I got to look at a coach and say, who's the guy that I think can come in and just re-energize and get everybody rallied on the same page and get this team going from day one. And for me, I'm a little edgy on Gruden. I just don't know if he's the guy that can come in and snag this team up, all 53, from day one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean that's where the question is. Because he hasn't coached in a while. This is a different game. But then I look and I see, well, Andy Reid is like 70 years old or whatever, and he seems to be fine. Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator. He's like 68, whatever he is. And I mean, he seems to be fine. So he relates to the players. The players respond to them. And I think it's a lot about credibility. If you're bringing in one of these veteran guys or these older coaches, there's got to be a level of credibility that they bring to the table. And, Gruden did a lot of that film breakdown with a lot of these young guys. He does it now. He does a lot of those shows, and he had these draft picks he still does. So he still relates and still involved with a lot of these young guys. So it wouldn't kill me. I would rather have that than Deion. I'll be honest. I'd rather have Gruden over Deion if he gave me a choice. But I wouldn't take him all. Here's one I'll throw at you, and it's near and dear to your heart. But Kingsbury. I mean, I wouldn't hate that. Now you're going to have to get defensive stuff with him, but I mean. Would you hate him? I don't know if I'd hate it because I know he was in Arizona.
I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm a Texas Tech guy. I don't want Kingsbury coaching my team. He was a terrible coach in college. I mean, he had Patrick Mahomes, and the best that they could do with Mahomes is a 7-win season. I do not want him anywhere near Dak Prescott. Look, I think he did a decent job as an offensive coordinator, but I even think with the Commanders, he was a little shaky as offensive coordinator. Went to Arizona. They had a top pick, took Kyler Murray. He had playmakers. They gave Kyler Murray playmakers. He flamed out there. I'm not a Kingsbury fan, and I'm just telling you this. I don't know how the hell he even got the job at the Arizona Cardinals to begin with, because when he left Texas Tech, I was one of the happiest fans ever. Look, I love Kingsbury. I love Kingsbury for what he did for Texas Tech as a player. As a coach, you ask any Texas Tech fan that watched him coach that team, it was terrible. It was terrible, terrible, terrible. And when he got a job with the Arizona Cardinals, so what in the absolute shit has he done? Now, he's elevated himself a little bit with what he's done with these Commanders here. He really has, because I think he's done a good job with the rookie quarterback, with Jaden Daniels. He's done really well with him. Maybe he needs a second time around. I just don't know that Kingsbury has that strong personality that we need, because I just don't. I really don't think he's got the strong personality that can deal with the Jerry. He'd be a yes man. He'd be a pushover. He's more of a players coach. I believe he's more of a players guy. Friendly with the guys. High five, chest bump. Let's did all that. I just don't see him as being a guy that can hold these guys accountable. The kind of guy we need. The kind of guys we need are disciplinarians, honestly. Guys. Well,
let me throw these three that Rick brought up. Obviously, we talked about Soleil. What about Aaron Glenn? He was. I mean that's like. What about Brian Flores? I mean, I'm good with both of those guys.
When I tweeted out the other day, I said my top 3 guys that I would like, and I put I left Aaron Glenn off there because I kind of blanked out and forgot about him. But my top 3 guys were Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, and then it was Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. But Aaron Glenn is absolutely on that list. I heard him talk the other day. He had a press conference, and he said, look, people are going to look at me and label me as a defensive coach. I am a coach. I'm going to come in there and be a leader of men. I'm going to coach both sides of the ball, offense and defense. I'm going to deal with the offense as much as I deal with the defense because I am the coach for all 53. I'm not just going to be favoring the defense. I'm going to be a coach, and what you're going to get with me, you're going to get a coach. And I love the way he said that. I love the energy he brings. You look at him on the sideline, you can tell his defensive players, they want to play for him. Look at Detroit's defense, how solid they've been, even though they had so many injuries. They lost Hutchinson for the entire season. Huge blow. Would have thought they'd have a big fall off. That defense is still out there balling and still playing. I mean, you look at those guys and you see that they want to run through a brick wall for that guy. And so and that's the kind of guy that I think can light a fire under somebody's ass, and that's the kind of guys who I really want on this Dallas Cowboys team as a head coach. That's the guys I want. And Brian Flores, another guy.
And Flores is a defensive coordinator now, so I don't think the lawsuit has anything to do with it. The thing I would say, too, about Flores, I live in Florida. That dude got a raw deal there.
He did.
And again, it's business, so it happens, but there was some shady shit going on in Miami with him. So anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so he's a guy that I think would be a good guy to bring in too, because I think he got a shit deal in Miami as well. But I mean, look, there's some guys out there, and you know what? Maybe Jerry is looking and digging into some guys that we haven't thought of yet, or whatever. And who knows where that's going? But again,
what about college? I mean, let's forget NFL. I mean. Would you be happy with the Texas coach? Would you be happy? I mean, you talked about the Notre Dame. We kind of talked about that one. Well, I mean, Georgia guy. I mean, what about one of these big colleges? Is there a coach there outside of? We talked about Notre Dame that would you'd be like, you know what? I could deal with that. That would make me good. And you guys in the chat, are there any other coaches out there in college that would get you hyped up?
I'm not sure about the college level in terms of what coaches other than Marcus Freeman. Obviously, I really like the job that he's done. I don't know about Sarkisian, man. I've heard him. I know he's got a big buyout, but I mean, he's also a guy who's really just not been able to get that Texas team over the hump. I mean, you look at the talent on that Texas team. I mean, they're one of the most talented teams, top to bottom. As much as I hate them, they're one of the most talented teams out there, and he can't get their shit together. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you did watch that game with Ohio State. What in the hell that dude was thinking with some of his play calls? I watched some of his play calls, and I thought, what in the hell is this man doing?
I appreciate it. I won some money off that game, so I was happy.
Well, I know, but I mean, you're sitting there watching that, and then they're talking about Sark for, to come to the Cowboys. I'm like, no, man, keep that dude away from the Cowboys. Not only do I hate the Longhorns, I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of Sarkisian. So, no, it's a no for me, dog. But
it seems the only name that outside of Freeman, of course, is Belichick. And the thing to me that I would say, because then it came out that Belichick would have been interested in Dallas had he known, and again, these are all reports coming out. So if Jerry was really was going to move on from McCarthy, I mean, did he do himself a disservice by not at least, making a phone call to Belichick and said, just hang tight a little bit. I think, we might have a spot open. Would you be interested if we do? And go from there, because I mean, that's not tampering in any way, because he wasn't a coach of any team.
Yeah,
so,
no.
I mean, you
definitely could have done that. And here's the thing: is Belichick wouldn't be a guy that I would be 100% out on. If you're going to hire a retread, why not hire a retread that has Super Bowls in his resume? You know what I mean? But with the Belichick thing, you also have to wonder. I know they said Belichick had mentioned that he was interested at a point, that it was rumored that he was interested in, being a coach of the Cowboys. That was one of the teams that he'd be willing to go coach. You just wonder how that dynamic would work between him and Jerry, though, just because, you know what I mean? It's just the same thing with Deion. It's big ego, right? Jerry's got a big ego. Well, Belichick's got a big ego. Deion's got a huge ego. Jerry's got a huge. It's like, how do you get two big egos to work together and to agree on things together? Because I think Bill Belichick's going to walk in a room and say, listen, look, you may have gotten yourself 3 Super Bowls, Jerry. I got fucking 5 of them. Well,
I count the Giants. I mean, he deserves credit for those two as well.
Yeah, he's like, look, I've been a part of double what you have been a part of, Jerry. I know what it takes to build an actual winning culture. If you're bringing me in, you can sit back, shut the fuck up, sign the checks, and let me run this team. You know what I mean? And I don't know that Jerry can do that. I don't know Jerry can allow himself to, because the thing is, look, Jerry wants so bad to win that 6th Super Bowl, but you know what he wants just as bad? He wants to get credit for that 6th Super Bowl. And that's the problem. Because if you really cared about building a winning culture and a winning team, then you shouldn't care who gets the credit. You shouldn't care. Because that's the most successful people in life. They don't care who gets credit for the success as long as the success is gained. As long as you can garner the success, you don't really care who gets the success. And because people are going to see from the outside and they're going to know. And you know what? You can get a share of your credit, Jerry. You're the damn GM. You're the owner. You can sit back, write the checks, let somebody come in and run it. And you'll get just as much credit from Cowboys Nation. You don't need you don't need it all. You don't need it all. Just, let your ego deflate your ego a little bit, Jerry. That's all we're asking you is just please deflate your ego. Just a couple PSI. Don't have to take it down to where the tire light comes on. Just a couple PSI, Jerry.
He ain't gonna do it. Another name.
It's wishful thinking, but I mean, it's what's funny is how it sounds common sense to guys like me and you and everybody in the chat. It sounds like common sense to us, but for Jerry, it's like pulling teeth from a toothless baby. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna be able to do it. You won't.
Yeah. I mean, Edgar. Comment of the day. It's like, you never seen Mr. Hunt give no injury reports, but I see him lifting Lombardis. You know what I mean? Would you rather do that? Like I'd much rather do that than worry about, getting credit and doing this and doing that. The credit is given when you're hoisting that Lombardi. That's all the credit. That's all the credit you need. Whoa, not Bobby Petrino. Is that a joke? Is someone trying to be funny with us? Because I've seen Lane Kiffin and Bobby Petrino. There's got to be. They're playing with us now, Kelly. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Maybe he's a Bobby Petrino fan. I'm going to say no.
The name that is out there all the time, not really for a coaching job, but his name comes up, and I love him. But do you think that the mystique of Mike Tomlin is a little overrated? They haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. He's been there a long time. He hadn't had a losing record, which, you got to give credit for that. But if Dallas was 8-8 for 15 years, would you be happy? Or if they were 9-7 every year and getting bounced in the playoffs in the first round? He's still got his job. They say that the team hasn't given him a quarterback, but I think they drafted one in the first round that they didn't, they struck out on, and that's Pickett. I don't know whose decisions. I don't know how much personnel oversight he gets, but I hear Tomlin's name a lot. Do you think, I think Tomlin would bring that toughness, and I think he brings some of that with us. But when you look at Tomlin, do you put him at the top, echelon coaches, or are you throwing him in the mix of a McCarthy, of Sean Payton? Guys who won a Super Bowl, had really good years, double-digit wins, had good seasons, but they're not Belichick. They're not Andy Reid. They're not, that.
So here's the thing: if the Cowboys were to bring over Mike Tomlin, would I be happy about it? Yes, I would be very happy about a Mike Tomlin, because I think instantly he's a guy that can bring in the culture. Do I somewhat agree with Mark's statements there? Because I did read that before you put it up on the board. I do agree with, yes. I don't think he's at the top echelon of the coaches that are in the league right now. When it comes to your Andy Reids, your Sean McVay type guy, and I can't even say Shanahan, because I like Shanahan a whole lot, but he hasn't been able to get over that. He hasn't even won a Super Bowl yet, so I still got to put Tomlin above him. He's at least got the hardware to say. But here's the thing that's impressive about Tomlin is that his entire time there never had a losing season. How long has he been the head coach there?
They've only had 3 in their franchise history, so
it's just crazy. But here's the thing: if you brought a guy like Mike Tomlin, sometimes some of these coaches just need to change the scenery.
Well, that's what I said. Does the message get stale? I mean, he's been there 15, 20, 18, however many years. Is it like,
Yeah. I mean, listen, if the Cowboys got Mike Tomlin, I'd be fine with that. I mean, he's not a guy who I'm out here just like, saying, oh my God, we got to get him. But no, I mean, I'd be fine with Mike Tomlin because I think a change of scenery would probably be good for him, and I think he'd rise to the challenge. And I mean, he'd be the first head coach that would win two Super Bowls with two separate franchises. I mean, that would be something. Be the first head coach that could bring Dallas back and get that 6th trophy. To be the guy that could break the drought. And there's a lot of things that could be said for Mike Tomlin, but. Again, like you said, the whole thing about not winning into the playoffs and going 1-out. But the thing is, isn't it funny though that the Steelers don't get called out for that? Everybody wants to point and talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody's talking about the Steelers. Nobody's talking about how they consistently, the one thing that they know how to do in the playoffs is lose. Past 8 years? I think this makes the 8th year in a row now that they've been bounced in the first round of the playoffs. So again, back to what we talked about at the start of it, people just don't tend to point that same smoke at other teams as they do the Cowboys. Cowboys just seem to be that easy target.
And I because I live here, maybe there's a bias to it, but I mean, do you consider the Miami Dolphins a historic franchise? I mean, when you look at are they? I mean, outside of Florida, I've always had, but I'm wondering, what do outside people see when you think of the Miami Dolphins? Do you think of a historic franchise?
Not really. I mean, obviously they had that one undefeated season that they'll never quit talking about in Miami. But, but if you think about it, Miami's been for the most part, I mean, they've been a losing team, a team that's known for losing. I mean, you don't think of them as a competitive team. I mean, when Brady was running, that AFC East, I mean, they were, they weren't a team really competing. Nobody was really giving them a run for their money. So I don't. And in terms of some of the more storied franchises, that Miami's not one of the ones.
Okay.
In fact,
I find it interesting that the last time they won a playoff game was over 23 years ago, and the coach was Jimmy Johnson. That's how long it's been. I mean, and that doesn't get talked about much. And it just amazes me. There are these teams out there that, I mean, the Cowboys haven't been to the playoffs now for 1 year. I mean, they've been to the playoffs. I think it was like 4 or 5 out of the last 7 years or something like that. It was some number or whatever. And they don't have the Super Bowls they didn't capitalize on their opportunities. I mean, it is what it is. But you think about like the Dolphins, it's like, it's been 23 years since they won one. I mean, just one playoff game. And it's crazy. It's crazy. They got them in the second tier of franchises. So Mark does. Mark has him in there because he loves Mark.
Mark also took all Cowboys in his fantasy football draft. We can't necessarily put much stake in what Mark's saying. Sorry, Mark.
I wish I could be the head coach. I mean, I can't. I mean, I'm always the first to tell you guys, man. I'm not doing no X's and O's, but I mean, you give me the chance to get these guys motivated, and you give me the opportunity to get rid of some people that some dead weight. It's funny. I guess I better be careful in what I say. So I'll just say, a situation where there's a sport and there's God, how can I do what if I get in trouble, I get in trouble. So if you're on a team and you commit, Kelly, you're committing to this team. Right? Your kid is, forget you. Your son, he's in sports. He's committing to a team. You just paid $900 for him to compete at the Florida Sunshine Games, the #1 wrestling tournament in the Southeast. And you're paying a lot of money, and it's a team, and there's 18 of you. I know there's 14 on a team, but let's say there's 18, 20, 14, whatever you want to put it. And you got 2 people. And you're the coach, and you got 2 people on the team or 3 people that say, I've got practice with a different team, so I'm not going to make it. I'll get there. I know we have practice the night before to get prepped up and get our team ready, but I'm not going to make it. What would you do if you're the coach?
Yeah, I mean that's a person that's not going to be on my team anymore.
And what would you do if you're the parent? Your son came home after you paid $900 and said, "Dad, I know I got the big tournament, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'm trying out for this other team, so they got practice, so I'm going to go there, and I'll catch up with the team tomorrow, but I'm going to miss, the most important practice to get you prepped up." I mean, what would you do to your kid?
I don't know if I could say I don't know if I could say that on YouTube without getting in trouble.
But that's what I'm saying. That's a mentality, and I got off subject, and I apologize, but that's a mentality that you deal with sometimes with the parents of the problem. The parents are the problem with these kids, because I'd kill my kid. My kid already knows they'd never say a word about that. That would never even cross their mind, because I'd kill them. Not literally, but it'd be a bad day. And if I was the coach, I would forfeit. I'd forfeit that event. And I would tell all the parents, this is why you just wasted $900, and I apologize, but I am not sending an unprepared team to the slaughterhouse. And if these kids who committed 2 months ago and told us they're all in, it's evident they're not, and I'm not wasting my time as a coach. And is that unfair?
No.
Okay.
No.
It just drives me insane. Some of the parents, and I got off kilter, but I was talking about your son. I was thinking of your son wrestling. It brought some memories up of things you deal with. But let's take a pause from coaching, because from the Dallas Cowboys, because all you guys need to like and subscribe if you haven't to the channel. We're going to be doing this all off season. We got a plethora of guests that are going to be coming in, and Kelly landed a pretty damn good guest. I don't know if Kelly, you want to share the news, hype it up? Do you want to lay low? I don't want to spoil anything. I'll let you be the
We got 418 people in the chat tonight, so we might as well let this 418 people know that if you want to come in and get a really good show next week, we got Terrence Parsons, Michael Parsons' brother, very vocal guy on Twitter about Michael Parsons, about certain things. We got him coming into the show next week to break down AFC and NFC championship matchups that we'll have to be able to talk about, as well as the state of the Cowboys. So we're going to have him in here, and we'll be able to ask him, a guy that actually is going to know firsthand, what does Michael Parsons think of the Mike McCarthy thing? What is it? Does he have a preference on a head coach? Does he, we'll be able to ask him a lot of questions and be able to get some possible inside information from a guy that's very close to Mike Parsons, as his brother there. So very excited to bring him in and talk some football with him, because he's got a lot of opinions, very opinionated guy. So I'm sure we'll get some unfiltered responses from him, because he's got no loyalties to anybody on this Cowboys team, so he's going to tell it like it is. So we're looking forward to having him on the show. So hopefully you guys all come back next week, tune back in. You guys are all great guests and great in the chat, so it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be all. I'm hyped up for it. I want to see if he can make me feel any better or feel any worse. But he speaks his mind, so we definitely love it. We're going to have a bunch of guests coming up throughout the off season. A lot of great content creators, former athletes. We're going to do some draft stuff where, Kelly and I are raring up for this draft. Our off season started. We are going to be able to get things going. We are going to have a lot of you guests. I saw Steven chime in. We're going to have opportunity for you guys to interact, do some mock drafts together with some of you guys. So it's going to be fun. So make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, share. The 419 plus coming into the cave. We wouldn't be able to do this show without you. But the best way to support the show, and it doesn't cost you a cent, is go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up on that video, and if it's on social media, share it with the rest of Cowboys Nation. And that's all we ask for, man. We love doing this. We do it because we love it. We don't do it because we're getting paid. That's for Kelly could attest to that. But we do it because we love it. But I wanted to segue. I want to get that out of the way. But on a personal stuff, I love sports. I love high school sports. I love youth sports. I love when kids are in it. I've been following your son and his path in wrestling. I've been a advocate of the sport. I think every kid male or female, should wrestle at some point. I think it changes your mindset. If it wasn't for wrestling, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I'll be the first one to say it. I was a dumb knucklehead kid at school, and it's very interesting. You talk about your son, your junior year. I shared the story. I was ineligible to wrestle because I was too stupid. So I couldn't get on the mat for an official match until my junior year. So I'm almost on the same path, but I did wrestle, before that. At least I was able to go to practices, but I think it's great. And I'm listening to the stories and I'm following them. How is it going? I heard that varsity, he's getting an opportunity, which is, I think, unbelievable for being so early on, but he's picking stuff up. I mean, share some thoughts and stories.
Well, yeah.
I love spreading that word.
Yeah, he's doing really good. And so he's not actually secured a spot on varsity, but so what they're doing is, so he started out with reserve. He goes to a school, Millard South. They won the state championship 6 years in a row now. So they have a stout wrestling team. And the kid that wrestles on varsity, that wrestles at 150, which is the weight class my son's at, is ranked third in the state. So he's not going to supplant this guy in his first year.
What weight does he wrestle?
He wrestles at 150.
Okay, just you tell him, when my senior year in Florida, our 152 state champion was Ray Lewis. In case.
Nice.
I just imagine him wrestling Ray Lewis. I mean,
that's a name drop right there. That's a name drop. Yeah. Well, so anyway, so they've got, their wrestling team is pretty big. So they've got your varsity, you've got your JV, and you've got your reserve squad that you can wrestle your way up and get into the JV matches. So his very first match he had was reserves, and it's not even in the main part of the gym. It's an upstairs gym. And he went in there and he went 1-1. He won his first match, lost his second one, but he was kind of psyched out because he didn't know he was going to wrestle a second match. So he came and he drank a bunch of water, and he's like, man, I was waterlogged. And he had already beat that kid to actually for their first wrestle off. Anyway, went 1-1. So then he didn't wrestle for a little bit. And there was a couple of meets that went by, and I was like, damn, you know what? What's going on? He said, I got to get my opportunity. So he got his first tournament that he went to. It was a JV tournament, got to go to that tournament. There were several teams there, and he went 3-0, and he won first place. He won that tournament. Really, really great showing by him. He did really good. Second tournament he had was just this past Saturday. Went 1-1. The kid that he lost to was, really good. But my son still almost beat him. And he's watched that video several times and said he's learned some things. He's took some things from it that kid did on him that he thinks he can use going forward. But then his next match was an actual pin, and he won it by pin, tossed the kid over in the first round, threw the kid over, gave him the old head throw, and locked him up in a pin and cinched him up and pinned him in the first round. So anyway, did really good. His coaches were, saying, hey, man, you've done really good. So this next match, they've got a couple of meets this weekend, and they're all varsity meets. So what they're having to do is they're having to pull from their best available JV to wrestle in this varsity match, because the guy that's third in state, he's going to be wrestling in another match on Saturday. They're not going to wrestle them in back-to-back days, so they're doing this. So my son got called at 150 to go and wrestle in this tournament. There's like 8 teams in this tournament, but all of the teams he'll be wrestling against, all the kids he'll wrestle in that tournament, are going to be varsity players. So he was pretty psyched out because he said, the coaches were saying
not players, but wrestlers
from JV. So he's pumped up at the opportunity. He knows it's going to be a challenge. And that he's facing a tall task, but he's ready for it. He's excited. He was very proud. As soon as I came home yesterday, he told me the news. It was one of the first things he told me, and I could hear the excitement in his voice that he's ready to go and prove himself and continue to go on. So very proud.
Hopefully his first varsity match will be better than mine. My first varsity match, I think I told you, I wrestled a 2-time state champion who ended up being college. I think he was a college All-American. He was on the Olympic alternate team. Like, he ended up being, he was a coach at, I think, Arizona State at one point, like years later. He's a legend in the state of Florida. And I had the opportunity to wrestle him on my first varsity match my junior year. And it was the worst minute and I think 19 seconds of my life, or 12 seconds. Could have probably ended in about 10 seconds. He he showed mercy on this kid. He you know, after about the first lockup, and when he went like this, and I flew across the mat, you know, to the other side, he had a feeling that he was dealing with a kid who didn't wrestle much, so he showed some mercy on me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about it, and we've kind of tempered expectations. I sent him a pretty long text message today between me and him, and just kind of let him know some things that, you know, that regardless of what happens on Friday, I told him, you know, I'm super proud of the job he's done. I said we understood coming into this. He understood that, you know, he was facing a kind of a daunting task to be able to have a good season, being that this is his first ever season wrestling. And I mean, in the Midwest, I'm telling you, man, these kids come out the womb wrestling.
Oh,
I mean, they do. These kids at wrestling. I mean, I know I've got several of my buddies that their kids they start wrestling at 5 years old. That's no lie. 5 years old, they're wrestling, and they wrestle throughout the entire year. I mean, they don't even have an off season. When they're not wrestling in school, they've got club wrestling, and and then when that club ends, there's another club, and it's constant, man. So I mean, he's got a definitely tall task with a bunch of varsity wrestlers on Friday, but I'm confident in him, man. I think he'll hold his own. He's shown the ability to do so so far, but you know, it's a very exciting opportunity for him to get to prove himself and take another step towards getting better. And that's the goal that he's got, is just to get better every time he goes out there. So
I love it. That's the ultimate thing. And you catch up so fast. Like after this year, he's even like, holy shit. I mean, the next year, you know, we didn't have off season. He's going to wrestle in club. He's going to wrestle year round. So he's going to pick up a lot. And it's like that next wrestling season, it's going to be like, dude, it's like another thing. And what he's going to live with more than likely is what I lived with. And it's a regret of, I wish, you know, it's like my coach told me, man, I wish you would have got your shit together sooner, because you're 1 year away. And, you know, my senior year, I set my goals. I just wanted to get to regionals. You know, I knew, you know, I wasn't going to be a state guy. You know, I didn't have enough experience, and it just wasn't in the cards at that time. So I set a goal, and I reached my goal. And that's what I would tell you to tell him, is set goals. And you know, because if you don't set them, you can't achieve them, and just work towards it. But I would tell him in this tournament, the biggest mistake I made is I thought about it too much. Like, and don't tell him, don't think about, oh, I'm wrestling varsity, these kids are better than me. Get that out of here. Go in with what you do. And if he beats you, he beats you, but don't go in timid. Don't go in defensive. Don't go in, I'm worried he's, you know, this guy's bar, he's going to shoot good. You go in with your game plan and go all out. And if you get beat, you get beat. You hold your head up high like, you know, you do in wrestling, and you learn from it. But that was my one regret. Like, I remember wrestling in varsity. I wrestled another match, and I wrestled this kid, and I let it get. I heard all the teammates, right? Oh shit, man, he's varsity, you know. And I let it, and I didn't wrestle, and I didn't wrestle the way I wanted. And I would, when I was done with it, I bet my life that if I did it the way I want, I would have beat him. You know what I mean? And that's where wrestling is so psychological, because you can psych yourself out and you can psych yourself up just as much. I've seen kids with hardly any experience go in and beat some pretty damn good guys, because they just are relentless. They're just coming at you, and they're just, you know. So it's a fun sport, and I love watching it. I love hearing about it. So I wanted to take some time to get an update.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And then next week we'll have another update, man. We'll see how he does in this tournament on Friday, man. So I'm excited, man.
Yeah. No, well, we love it. But we love all you guys in the cave, man. It's been a lot of fun. I'm feeling better, Kelly. You got me feeling. I'm not gonna bust through the door or anything, but I'm gonna let it play out. You know, I was mad, and I had to do my season ticket holder review and leave all my comments. And I even tried to be nice, and they wouldn't. I said, you want the comments? Because they wouldn't let you submit it unless every comment was full. So I said, all right, man, you asked for it. Here we go. So I feel better. It was therapeutic. I apologize. I'm going to figure this phone thing out, and we'll get it right, because we definitely want to take a lot of calls. We love having all you guys on there. So
absolutely,
yeah. So it's been fun. So Kelly, any final thoughts before we leave this day and get ready for the next?
No, man. Just, you know, hang in there, Cowboys fans. We're gonna be all right. We got, if anything, man, hopefully we got some optimism to look for, man. With a new head coach, comes new opportunities, and we can only hope that Jerry Jones makes the right decision. So we'll see what happens, man. But as I say in my videos when I go out, hold your tears and drink your beers. That's all we can do.
That's all we could do. But I tell you, I'm gonna leave you with this, and wish I would have clipped it. They're happy because that would have been the ending, but I'll work on it. The only good thing is I'm seeing more Swaggy J. I mean, I didn't see him this year. I mean, he just kind of during the season. He's back. So that's what I'm in. I mean, that's what I'm hyped about. I'm seeing more of it. I caught up. I mean, I was on vacation, so I didn't see it all. And then I started catching. I had to go to the Kelly page to kind of figure out, all right, let me catch up with my man, see what's doing. And then I'm seeing Swaggy J's making a few returns, not just one. He's making a few of them. So make sure we at least got that. So we're going to have a fun off season. We're going to have a great show next week. Really excited about that. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming up. So make sure you tune in. We appreciate all the love, Cowboys Nation. Hit that subscribe on your way out. Hit that thumbs up, man. We can't do it without you. You guys take care. Thanks. See you.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry.